Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When we were trying to get this podcast off the ground, we had a lot of questions. How do we record an episode? How do we get our show into the apps that people like to listen to, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts? How do we make money from our podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So, if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Everything fucking sucks, but not champagne.
What's happening, peoples? Welcome to episode number
six. I thought you were going to say episode number shit. I was like, I don't know that number. I don't know that number.
Yeah. We doing the do. Thank you guys for joining us for another one. We are now on iTunes.
Apple Podcast.
Yes. And we're seeing them plays on the Spotify now.
It's a lot of folk on the Apple Podcast. I mean, a lot of the people that I talk to on the side are like, yo, that's where I listen to my podcast from.
Yeah.
Alton is not an iPhone person.
No, I hate them damn iPhones.
He team Android all day.
All day.
So he don't even understand you Apple people. I am an Apple person.
All day, baby. All day. That's an inside joke, y'all. It was a commercial I made way back in the days. It was something I said. No, anyways.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny as fuck.
You had to be there.
Yep. Anywho, so we're now on the iTunes, Apple Podcast, whatever the hell it's called. Do not know. But
we're on Breaker.
Yep, Breaker. We're getting out there now. We're getting out there. So just wanted to say, now she's choking, huh?
It's allergy season here in Sacramento. Everything has just started blooming. We're getting a ton of rain, and it's starting to warm up. And I have lived pretty much all across the country and never suffered from allergy issues until I moved to the City of Trees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. City of Trees and City of Bees and City of Pollen and City of Allergies. And
yeah, it's kicking my ass pretty good.
Yeah.
So if I sound a little funky, I'm not sick. I'm dealing with what most of everyone in Sacramento is dealing with, which is seasonal allergies.
Yeah, I think Bubbles.
The dog has allergies.
I think Bubbles has allergies.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's not good. But she doing all right. So, anywho.
You'll hear her here in a bit.
Yeah.
She's resting peacefully, which means she's saving it all up for us.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get into some good old conversation here. We'll get all worked up, and then here she comes.
Next thing you know, it'll be all that good stuff. So, anywho's, thanks again, you guys hitting them plays. We totally appreciate it. We love it. And like I said, we're going to keep trying to step it up a little bit for you guys and give you that better product. Like we slinging dope or something, you know?
Damn.
It's kind of what it seems like.
Damn.
But
she's up.
There she is.
See what I mean?
Oh, she's up. What's happening, Miss Laurie?
Oh, nothing. It's early in the week, so, you know. Y'all know.
How's the job doing?
Yeah. Although, I do have a good week ahead.
Oh, yes.
Because my best friend in the whole wide world is coming to Northern California.
Yes.
So I am fortunate enough to be really, really, really dear friends with some people who are in the music business. And two of those wonderful human beings are doing big things right now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is getting ready to do a tour, and she will be all over California for the next couple months. So I will actually get to see her a few times here in the next few months, which I'm super excited for. It's also one of my other dear friends' best friends today. It's her birthday. So happy birthday, Bubbles. And I don't mean the dog. So long before Bubbles the dog was in my life, I had this girl named Karen, who, if you love me in Sacramento or you hate me, you can thank her for me being here. It's her birthday is April Fool's Day, which is sort of not missed on me because she is one of the goofiest, silliest, most fun people I've ever been around. And so happy birthday to you, Karen.
Happy birthday, Karen.
Happy birthday, Bubs.
And that's it. I don't know no other birthdays. So
today was one of them days that anything anyone threw at me,
didn't want to pay attention to it.
So watch. So Alton and I have like a little bit of an agenda on what we're going to talk about on these days, right? And so I was opening up my text. I had a bunch of them, and one of them was from a homegirl of mine. I ain't going to say your name, but all it says is, did you mean to post your nudes on your story? And I was like, bitch, not it.
Yeah, exactly.
You ain't getting me.
Exactly. Yeah, so. I've been seeing the memes of the Dodgers with the championship trophy, and they're saying, there's your April Fools. I'm a Dodger fan. Everybody knows it. I'm a Dodger fan. I'm a Rams fan. So
you like them underdog teams.
But no, they ain't real underdogs now. But thing of it is, if they talking about them, then they just hating. That's all it is. So, typically from the Giants fans and 49er fans and all that stuff. So
you like them like Los Angeles teams, like the
yeah,
Southern
I've
California
always
teams?
have been. Always have been. Yep. I used to be a big time Laker fan back in the day. Back when they had Magic and Worthy and Kareem and all them, but then
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not continuing. I'm just gonna cut the shit off now. So, but watching the games and watching my teams do good, brought happiness. So to see them do good always made me feel good. So talking about happiness, we have been running into all kinds of situations, recently. Just people in general, people close to us, hearsay stuff, But, what is happiness? What actually makes people happy? We know for a fact that happiness is different for everybody.
Yep.
People will have their own things, and they'll say, lots of money, the big house, the fancy car. That's
white picket fence.
Yep.
2.5
3
babies.
kids. Yeah.
How many is
exactly.
it? I don't even remember what the amount is.
I don't know.
Big old golden retriever.
Yeah, but
those are societal expectations of happy.
very true. Very true.
Just like the idea that you grow up and go to college and get a degree and pursue a career and get married, and all of that is, I would call that a more average expectation of happiness, right?
Yeah.
Because most people, when you ask them what makes them happy, that's what they typically say.
Very true.
A lot of women will say, my children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
And that one's kind of a mixed bag, I think.
Well, but I think that's always kind of a given. Of course, your children make you happy, but then at the same time, they make you fucking crazy.
True.
So does that truly give you happiness? So then it begs the question, what is happiness to you?
But then do they put all their focus on their children? And that's saying that there's their happiness. But then, the other people involved, are not happy, So that's, I don't know. Everyone has their own gig. Everyone, looks at things and say, okay, that right there, if I had that, that would just make me so happy.
Well, folks with money will tell you money don't make you happy, but those of us who are poor would like to know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'd like that experience.
We'd like to test it out.
I'd like to be like, you know what? You're right. That didn't make me happy. However, I sure been eating better and sleeping better.
Yeah, exactly.
and dressing better.
I'd like to test that shit out for a little bit. Let me see.
That's right.
Let me see if that made me happy.
Happiness is an inside job, and I think that's really where the struggle comes in.
Oh, you know it.
With a conversation about happiness. A million years ago, somebody gave me a card or I gave somebody a card, I can't remember, but the quote on the card was, "Happiness is a journey, not a destination." And that weighed very heavily on me because as a kid who was raised in a lot of chaos, and then a young woman who was a young mother who started out my motherhood journey in a lot of chaos, and a person who did not understand that life could exist without chaos for a long stretch of my life, I did not understand that statement, because I think when you don't truly understand what the inside job of happiness is like, you have this goal of happy. And I think that's where people fuck themselves up with when you ask them what truly makes you happy. It ends up being a list of their goals as opposed to what it is that truly inside of them fulfills something that truly provides happiness.
I was going to say that I think the biggest thing about happiness is, first of all, being happy with yourself. Nothing else. Not anything else that comes into your life, but you as the person you are, where you're at.
All your flaws.
That all your flaws, all you look at and you see all your mistakes, you see all the things that you've done well, all of the things that you could have done better, and you can look at them and be happy with that person that you look at. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I think the majority of people don't do that.
I agree.
I think they weigh it. You know, they weigh on what they've been able to accumulate. You know, whether that be a spouse, a house, a car.
A mouse? Oh, I thought we were doing a thing. My bad.
Yeah. No. So
sorry, I digress.
Yes. But I really think that that's where people go with it. And really, it's almost like a cake with...
I like cake.
Me too, sometimes, you know. Vanilla, or not vanilla, yellow.
Why gotta be a vanilla cake, though?
It was going to be a yellow cake.
Okay, yellow. We like butter
with
cakes.
chocolate,
Okay.
with chocolate frosting.
Ooh, that's the best cake.
Yeah, but it's almost like a cake, but there's the cake itself ain't all that great. It just got fancy frosting on the outside.
Right, it's
you know
not
what I mean?
done on the inside.
Right.
Ain't really got no flavor.
Right.
But the outside is bomb.
Oh, you
all
look
the
at it-
fondant, all the decorations.
You look at it from the outside,
Yes.
you look at it and go, that's what I want right
I
there.
was at a wedding recently where the cake was like that.
What?
Nasty.
Oh, shit.
She was pretty, though.
Damn. Okay. But
no, I agree with you. I think that is true. I think your reference to a scale is very valid. I think that there's this idea that you stack notches off, right? And you're like, well, I did this and I did that. And frankly speaking, I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit on that. And I can only use my own example of my own experience. So the reference I like to give is that I've never wanted to get married. It's never been my thing. I remember when I was a kid, everybody and like my young girlfriends, a lot of them had weddings planned out. You know, when I get married, I want to get married in a big white dress, and I'm going to get married in this church. The dude didn't really fucking matter, frankly speaking. That was a whole frame that was already painted. It was just a matter of plucking that motherfucker into the spot.
Right.
And understanding that you're very young, right? So obviously the person doesn't matter. But I think that that's one of those almost societal expectations of what makes you happy.
But that's how they're growing up thinking. They're growing up thinking that that's the thing that would make me the happiest. That would make me the happiest because
100%.
I had the big, beautiful wedding.
Right.
I had the...
Daddy walked me down the aisle.
The $15,000 dress, and I had, you know, the horse and cart and all that. And the truth is, none of that means shit.
Wait, did you have a horse and a cart when you got married?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I didn't know.
I'm
I didn't know if that was some personal reference.
No. I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here having a glass of wine, thinking about old Sacramento. You know, that's about it. You know.
Yeah. So no, as a kid, you know, when all of my friends, their Barbies were wearing the wedding dresses, the Barbies and their Kens were getting married. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I hope my children don't listen to this podcast. My Barbies were naked and humping, even as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were. They were. My Barbies had more important things to do. I remember my Barbie had a Corvette. Okay, she did. She had a pink one. It was bomb. It was a convertible Corvette. She had a career. She had a job.
What was she?
It depended on the day. Some days that bitch was a flight attendant.
Hang on. Bubbles is eating my
Bubbles.
shoe. Hang on.
I'm gonna finish my point when he puts his shoes away. It depended on the day, and it depended on the stretch of my imagination that day. Like I said, some days she was a flight attendant, some days she owned her own business. One day she was a motherfucking baker, and one day she was a bored chick who somebody was financially keeping secure, and she was chilling at the pool. I'm just saying, I had an unusual upbringing.
I can tell.
Having said that, you're missing my point.
But I'm back now. My shoe is okay, so all right.
But as I got older, that didn't change. I genuinely, from a very young age, did not place my happiness in the hands of somebody else. It just wasn't important to me. Let me be clear, because this is where the Me Too motherfuckers right away got to jump in. But what about? Pump the brakes, Blue Lives Matters. Hear me out. What you love is what you love. What works for you is what works for you. What we're talking about happiness being the inside job is, I know personally an unusual amount of people who went out and got all the things they thought they were supposed to have, and they are not happy.
Yep. And
it's interesting. I think when you have a personality like mine, big, where I'm kind of not afraid to talk about the icky stuff, right? Sometimes there's conversations that are uncomfortable to even broach, and I really just don't care, because if that's the real part of you, that's the part of you I want to talk about. If that's the part of you that you let almost no one else see and know, that is the part of you in the relationship that I will become invested in. Not because I want that expectation out of you, but because I have always worked more comfortably in that space of like raw, messy honesty. And so I know an inordinate amount of people in my life currently who have gone out and chased all them things. Got the master's degree, got the fucking car, got all them things. Got the husband, the beautiful babies, the fucking dog with the pedigree, and they're not happy. They live their life trying to escape the day-to-day of it.
Right.
Planning that vacation to get them away, planning that weekend to get out of it. And let me tell you something. I am struggling currently. Things have been it has been a tough few months. And yet, at the core, I am a happy person. Truly. I don't look for people to give me awards. I don't look for acknowledgement. That's not what I need to be happy. And that is in addition to owning and admitting that I deal with serious struggles with anxiety. And there's been a pretty gnarly bout of depression. And I also live with ulcerative colitis. So there's also an element of chronic pain. And all of those things fucking suck. And yet, I move through my space more days than not happy.
So what makes you happy?
I feel like what makes me happy is always being totally honest with what I want. Sometimes that honesty is selfish. And I use the word selfish in a way that I feel like I've explained to a lot of really good friends of mine. Selfish is a word that can get a bad rap, right? Yeah. When you're a kid, if you don't share your toys, that's selfish, right? To me, that's a different thing. It's like almost like character. You should share things. You shouldn't share everything. And if that's your most favorite thing, you shouldn't share it just because the concept out there is that sharing is the right thing to do. You should share because the person that's asking, you care about their enjoyment and happiness, and you like them enough to share that thing. But you shouldn't share it just because that's the rule that sharing is sharing, right? So selfish to me is a word that gets a bad rap. I am a person who likes to take a lot of alone time. I'm a person who does not like to share my living space.
You selfish as fuck.
Selfish. I'm a person who will check out. I will maybe not answer your text messages and calls for some time because in that moment, me taking care of my needs is more important. And that's not always received well. It's looked at almost as a flaw.
No, I get that, but truthfully, I think everyone needs that. I think everyone needs to carve out that time that is solely theirs, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. And it's not to spend it with somebody. It can be to sit and read a book. It could be to go hiking all by yourself and
go see a movie by yourself
and go and just sit down and be alone and be happy with being alone. But I think that's what also makes that person look into themselves and be okay with themselves. Because I think a lot of people look for all these external things for happiness, and they're not happy with who they are in general.
Right.
And until you can find happiness in yourself, how are you going to find happiness from all these external things coming in, right? Because then it's just more clutter, right?
Right.
It's just more clutter onto a mind that is cluttered. It's not clear. So I am a firm believer in taking care of yourself, which I'm gonna say, I'm not that great at that myself. I have been recently trying to get back into that.
I'll give you that. You have.
I have trying to, get back into playing disc golf and going to see my friends and hanging out and stuff. And honestly, it's things I think everyone needs.
But you've also needed to be reminded to do those things.
Yeah, because I'm a tunnel vision person. If I say I'm going to do something and I put my mind to it, I'm doing it. And trust me, I am the number one person to say that, you know what, when I say I'm going to do that, I do it, and then I leave carnage behind me. And it's because I threw my blinders on, right. I was the bowling ball, and I went right through everything. And boom, there it is, it's done.
Right.
And then I step back and I look and I go, oh, shit.
That shit is done, but there's a whole lot of wreckage behind me.
I got to fix some shit,
But that's the thing. It's also balance, right?
Correct.
It's also balance. By no means is anyone here suggesting, go out there and make you happy. Your alone time means you spend it with someone you shouldn't be if you are obligated to someone else. And by obligated, I mean you're in a committed relationship, because it don't have to be marriage. You can be a whole committed human being to another human being without this concept that you must sign on for a marriage to be committed.
Right.
I know for some people that matters. It has never mattered to me. To me, I can be wholly committed to another human being and not need their last name,
right.
Not need to testify in front of, 80 people who I can't even remember that one guy at the last table's name. In fact, is he a +1 or do I know him?
Damn.
Right?
I actually read an article this morning, and it was talking about millennials.
Okay.
And it was talking about the things that millennials were ruining. And to me that was phrased all wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of harsh.
And one of the things was marriage.
They're ruining marriage.
Yes, they're
okay.
Well, because that's a societal thing, right? That's that thing.
Was you reading some Christian paper this morning?
No. It's a societal thing. It's what you're supposed to do.
Well, back
right?
in the day, marriage was a business deal, right? I'm gonna give you my daughter. We're going to join last names. We're going to make our family bigger and stronger.
Right.
You're going to get 4 goats out of this.
Right. And 2 cows. Yep.
And then we're going to grow the amount of property that we own. And she's going to take on your last name because essentially the wife was also part of the cows and the goats.
Right.
I mean, that's the real.
And then she's going to have the children.
And then you're going to go work. She's going to sit at home and make more babies that have more of y'all's last name. And we make the family bigger and bigger and bigger. So once upon a time, marriage made sense. It was a power move. It was a business decision.
Right.
But tell me in the last however many years how marriage has benefited women, honestly.
Well, I'm not a woman. So I would say that one way it has benefited women is in divorce.
Damn.
Because, I'm just saying, right?
If you can see me over here, I'm like, my booty is clenched. Damn.
Keeping it real.
I'm just have a glass of water here.
But I don't know where it has benefited. I'd imagine that the income has grown and maybe properties can be bought.
But you can do that with a partner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't. I guess my point is that this contract that people get themselves. Okay, I have 2 exceptions to this. The first one is if you're a religious or spiritual person. I get it. that's a different ball game,
Yeah.
right? Because y'all have a whole different commitment. You want to make your commitment before God. Your family subscribe to a belief.
Yeah.
That I get it. And because I'm not a religious or spiritual, well, that's not true. I'm not a religious person. I am a
Right.
spiritual person.
Right.
But I don't have a name for whatever the deity is that I believe. I don't. I know there's something greater than me somewhere.
Right.
But do I need to go sit, stand, kneel, stand, drink the wine, eat the bread to get that? I don't. That's not a judgment, just saying me personally. I find that there is something greater than me when I go to the ocean and I watch the sun come up, or
Right.
when I watch it go down.
Yep.
When I go for a hike and I'm standing at the top of some sort of a precipice and there's this waterfall, there's something greater than me, and I have a respect for that. So by no means do I have a disrespect for religion. I'm saying that if you're religious people and you're in that religion, the two families, okay, that's one of the ways that I understand you're wanting to get married.
Yep.
Also, for some people, having children, it's important that both of you are married because there might be the benefit of insurance. We still live in a time where most people take on a last name, so then the children have this. Everyone in the family has the same last name. You don't need marriage for that. I'm just saying.
True.
But I get there. So that makes sense to me for those specific reasons. But frankly speaking, women are starting to earn, or they're working towards earning as much as men.
Correct.
Women still got to do the baby part. Y'all can't take that job, right? So we still making the babies. We still got to take that time off. And then we put ourselves back 5 years when we go back into the workforce, right? And now the man has had 3 promotions and you coming back from taking care of the baby and you trying to get back in the workforce and you what? Assed out. And now he don't even know how to connect with your ass.
Well, part of that is, you take however long off, you go back in. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, it barely covers the daycare. So
That's right.
So why are you working? And I personally think all women should work. That is my opinion.
Everyone in the relationship,
the stay at home thing,
be it 2 women, be it 2 men, whatever y'all do.
Yeah,
your
whatever,
partners
whatever
should
it
work.
is.
Yes,
And it's not. I'm gonna be careful here. It's
right. I get it.
It is for a I would say it's a selfish thing for that person to work, because I feel that everyone should feel that they have worth. Okay, and some people feel that because they sit at home and they don't contribute to the income, that they don't have the worth that the other person has. Right?
And that is mightily true, and you know it.
Yes.
There are people who think, well, I'm the one who earns the money.
I'm the bread maker.
Motherfucker, this whole place would collapse without me.
Right. I'm the bread maker. Right.
I understand that.
And in my mind, I'm good with if I worked and the mom stayed home and raised. I'm totally good with that. And I understand that mentally there's a balance of, yeah, I got to get up at, this time, go to this job, do this all day long, come home, and then try to do my children duties.
Right. Then it's time to rear the babies because you ain't been around them all day.
Because you haven't been around all
Right.
day, I get that. But to me, in my past experiences, what I've learned just in my 47 years of life, that the spouse or the other, it seems, benefits from working. And I don't mean that in just a simple financial
it's almost
way.
a sense of worth.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is a worth,
Yeah.
and it is a, kind of getting back to some type of normalcy, right? Instead of, sitting up watching Barney and shit all day.
Right, disconnected from adults.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a few friends with toddlers right now going through that very same thing.
Right,
Yeah.
and they get back. We'll call it the workforce, but it's basically back to the human force.
Right.
To hang around normal people and do normal things.
Right.
Yeah, you got children, but a lot of people end up basically stopping their life to raise children.
And I know a lot of people like that
and that's
too.
all it is, and that's all it's about.
And then that's to go back to your horse blinder reference. That's what ends up happening.
Yes.
You become, and it's usually the moms, frankly speaking. I know a few awesome dads and I know a few stay-at-home dads. I personally know. But that is truly the exception to the rule. It is almost always the women who stay home.
Yes.
And they have spent, the 40 hours that you're at work plus your, say, give or take 15 of travel, they are home with human beings who don't use full sentences.
Right.
And that is such a colossal mind fuck.
And they pee on themselves.
And they sticky.
And they vomit. And they break shit.
Listen.
And then they mess up shit.
Children are so disruptive. And let me tell you something. My daughters are all young adults now, and they're really, as much as they drive me crazy, they're beautiful, really, really sharp young women. Lazy as sin, but damn it, smart, beautiful young girls. We working on that lazy shit. But my daughters, when they were little, I had really, really good kids. I really did. But they were still little assholes. You know, because they don't understand anything outside of themselves. But if you look at children inherently, they are happy.
Yes.
You know why? They don't got to worry about anybody else. They mad, they cry, they scream, they demand, and their needs are met.
Yes.
And so if you relate that to adulthood, if you attempt for some of that selfish, it doesn't have to be that fundamentally, silly the way that I'm comparing it. But if you take some of those demands that your soul has and you meet them, you can be happier. And that happiness does not rely upon anyone else. Because the keep it real is, you are not promised tomorrow, neither is your partner.
No.
Neither is your mama.
That's 100% correct.
Neither is your baby. So if your happiness is stocked in another human, A, they can be gone, or B, they can fail you. Humans fail you all the time, even in the healthiest relationships.
Yep.
They fail you. It's not because they mean to. It's because we're human souls. We fuck up. Sometimes our selfishness overlaps, and a need is not met. And if you don't mix healthy selfishness with communication, then everybody's fucking off the track.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I'm kind of wishing that work week, like I was talking before, that work week was a little switched around, because I think, shorter work weeks and a little more break time
You'd be so much more productive at work.
I think so. I think you'd be more productive. I think people will probably live longer, tell you the truth.
Real talk.
Because work is stress.
Yep.
Work is stress.
Yep.
Not everyone has it like the upper ups,
I think that when you get to the benefit of doing what you love for a living, the saying, if you choose a career that you love, you never work a day in your life. I think that the people who are fortunate enough to figure that out, that's a whole different level of intuition and follow through that I was not fortunate enough to have right out the gate. I've been like a jack of all trades, master of nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But in all the different work experiences I have had, I've learned. And I've applied what I've learned from one into the next. And I've enjoyed my experiences. All of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So while I might not have chosen a dedicated long-term career, that just wasn't what I went for.
But that doesn't fit everybody.
It didn't fit me.
Yeah.
It didn't fit me. That's why college right out the gate. I went to college right out the gate. That's why it didn't make sense at the time. Because I didn't know what the fuck I wanted.
Right.
So how was I going to pick the thing I was expected to do for 50, 60 years? It was so illogical. But then again, that applies to the concept of marriage to me.
Right.
We have this idea that at 20 years old, we're supposed to make all these fucking decisions about what we're going to do with the entirety of our lives. And it's just not fucking feasible. And I think that adds to why so many fucking people are miserable. It's like, I got to get married because that's what my mommy and my daddy did and everyone expects.
Or the one I love is I'm getting to that age. I have to get married.
I have to get married.
I have to have kids now.
Right.
And I'm like, you don't even like that motherfucker. And you're telling me you're going to have a kid with him because it's that time?
There's some invisible clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pressure. I guess I'm really fortunate because I've not experienced that pressure. I had my daughters very young, and I was cool. I didn't hit I remember hitting mid-30s, and my friends were like, "Yo, you've been single for a minute. Don't you want a baby?" I'm like, "Nah, these motherfuckers almost gone. I'm good." So in that, I feel very fortunate.
Right.
But I know some folks who it was like, okay, was happening somewhere.
The clock's ticking.
And they married the douchebag, or they had the baby,
Yep.
And obviously most of my friends are women. I've got a lot of male friends, but all right, I'm going to say something rude.
Uh-oh.
I had this conversation today with somebody. I will not name the person, but they're going through a personal situation and basically told me that they figured that their relationship was probably going to end today. And I was like listening to the reason, and I was hearing what this person was telling my friend.
Okay.
And I'm like, so many men are so emotionally incapacitated.
Yes.
It don't matter what age spectrum, like 20 something, 50 something.
There's concrete walls around the emotion portion.
There are so many men who lack the fucking ability to check in with what they feel, register those feelings, and then share them in a healthy fashion. And I realized in this conversation with her, this is why so many women have sisterhood friendships, because it's almost like we get the emotional support from our girlfriends that men are not capable of.
Okay, I was lost for a second. You said
sorry, it took me a minute to get there.
Sisterhood friendships. I'm like,
well, not sister wives. Pump the brakes.
Right.
We ain't down with that.
I'm good.
No, like if you think about it, women are so emotionally invested with each other because typically we're more comfortable in that space of our feelings. Some motherfuckers more than others, okay? It's Facebook. It's not your diary. Learn the difference.
Oh my God. We have to revisit the episode we lost.
Yes.
Y'all, the episode we lost was about social media and the change and growth and beginning of it, and how people are just fucking stupid with it. and
Yes,
that was such a good episode. I think we'll try to run it back again.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many people, there's a difference between being in touch with your feelings and not understanding that not every feeling needs to be expressed
on social media.
No, not at all. Shit, if I expressed every feeling that was out there, y'all'd be like, this bitch crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep some shit close to the chest.
Right.
But, and that's a finesse that I think you learn. I look back to my first, I want to say 6 months of posting on Facebook. I was real late to the Facebook game because I was just kind of not about the social media thing, which is why it's funny now where I'm at. But them first 6 months, my ass went back and deleted some posts because I didn't understand what is social media worthy of sharing versus what is an inside thought that I need to process and sort out on my own on the inside.
See, the problem is you didn't mess around with MySpace.
I didn't.
And so if you had MySpace,
damn, we do got to go back.
Yeah, if you had MySpace, you would have been okay on the Facebook thing. You know, you would have learned by then.
Yeah, you're right. I would have. No, yeah. I really worry about some of my favorite people, because again, it's my point of reference that I'm using as the example. I really worry that people get wrapped up in this idea of what so much of their life is supposed to be that they forget to take a moment to say, but does this make me happy?
Right.
Does this bring me joy?
What's good for them?
I shared a quote with Alton, and he looked at me like I was crazy. Like it went so far over his head, he wasn't feeling me.
Damn. You calling me stupid?
No, not at all. Because remember, we had this conversation about kind of how women are much more in tune. And what you said to me was that you needed some time to unpack it. That's what you said. By no means am I calling you stupid.
Okay, it's coming back to me now.
But so there is a poet named Nayyirah Waid, and she just had this tiny little, baby little mini poem. It says, things that should be asked often in every type of relationship. How is your heart? Is your breath happy? Here. Do you feel free? And I remember reading that thinking, that's a question you need to ask yourself everywhere in your life, because it'd be very easy to unpack that as a relationship quote, and it isn't.
Right.
It isn't.
And that's why I said that, because when you read it, I was saying to myself, it sounds like a two-person thing, but as I'm trying to go through it in my head, I'm like, but I think it's asking as an individual, as an individual, these are the things that you need to do. You need to check in with yourself.
In every space in your life.
Not someone else checking in with you.
In every space in your life, you need to check in with your work relationship.
Yeah.
You need to check in with your home relationship. You need to check in with your mental health relationship. You need to check in with your relationship with your children.
Yes.
In your interpersonal. You need to check and see, is your breath happy in that space? Do you feel comfortable? Are you holding your breath at work? Listen, after I read that, I realized how much of my day at work, I'm like, like waiting for the next round of bullshit to come. That is not a healthy happy.
No.
It's not. And when I say that I'm a person who is fairly happy, one of the spaces that is unhappy right now is work, and I am working on that. But that is my point, is you have to check in your spaces and ask yourself if the things that you're doing out of mere obligation, or if you truly feel healthy in that space. And obviously, if you don't feel good about parenting in that moment, that doesn't mean dump the kids. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have it, look it up. Apply common sense here, okay? I'm saying that you have all of these areas in your life where it's very easy to get wrapped up in the day-to-day sort of obligatory expectations. And then all of a sudden, a year has passed, 9 months have passed, 7 years have passed, and you haven't checked in with yourself once, and you mad.
Yeah.
You bitter.
Yeah.
You a nag, right? All you do is yell at the kids.
And you single.
Damn. Nah, I know an awful lot of unhappy people who ain't single.
I hear you, but I'm just saying,
could be.
That's where it goes.
Yes.
That's where it goes.
That does contribute to the dissolution of a lot of relationships.
Right.
It does. Because instead of speaking to each other and working through things together, you start to talk at each other. And then when the misunderstanding comes, then y'all just stop talking altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cycle, you know.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it is.
It's heavy and it's tough.
Because it's something that everyone relates to. It's not one person. And it's not one space. And I don't know one person that can sit there and say, man, my relationship is the best. We don't argue. We don't, and I've heard that one so many times. We don't argue. Well,
that means y'all got the mental Rolodex of all the ways that motherfucker has pissed you off.
Yeah. Y'all got problems, So, but it's an interesting thing, two individuals living their lives together, and both of the individuals not paying attention to themselves and not giving themselves credit.
How you gonna take care of somebody else's needs if you ain't taking care of yours?
I know. It's a cycle.
It is.
It's a cycle. It's something that people get into, and they're doing all the things that they believe that this is what we're supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to look. Well, this is how it's supposed to happen.
We want people to get married, but we don't give them the tools on how to make it healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we want two people to get together and grow old together, but think about where you were at when you were 20. And then where you were at when you were 25. And then where you were at when you were 30 and 34. Look how much you've changed.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you get married nice and young, right? Because I think especially with me, as I'm getting older, marriage as an older person makes a little more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because, you ain't got that much longer for the forever concept, right? It's only like, I don't know, 10, 15 years as opposed to 55.
Well, I got married when I was young. I got married.
You did.
I got married when I was 20.
I was a mom when I was 20, so I get it. We both jumped in deep.
When I was 20.
Right.
And I lived that, as you're young, you have these goals and dreams, and I was extremely driven. I mean,
still. That hasn't really changed with you.
Extremely driven.
Yeah.
I had so many plans and everything, and that whole thing when the elders say to the younger people that, don't get married, when you're young, wait till you're older, because in your 20s you grow. And that word grow
is not only your ass.
It's an internal word. Mm-hmm. You grow and you start to see yourself. You start to understand the things that you like.
Right.
You start to understand the path in which you want to go. You
Right.
understand it. It's not something you've drawn up and said, I think that's what I'm going to do, throw the dart and you
It's
go.
not a blueprint.
Right. Now it's like
it's an inside guide.
Now you're feeling it.
Yes.
You feel it, you go, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Right.
You know, I'm going to change my major, or I'm going to, you know, screw all this stuff. I'm going to go to trade school, or I'm going to be a fucking police officer, whatever. Right. But, you know, in your 20s, mid-20s to your 30, you're changing. You're maturing. You're understanding you. Right.
And for some people, that's going into your 30s.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Some folks get a later start at emotional maturity. Some motherfuckers go later than that.
Well, some motherfuckers don't never make it.
Some never do. But I think also that's because there's no one making demands of their growth, right? If you just let a motherfucker be a whole selfish bitch who goes from one person to the next person with no expectations, no one makes any demands of respect for them, then it's easy to go through life being a selfish, disrespectful motherfucker, you know, because that's just all you know.
Right.
But if you're a person who's trying to go half on a life with somebody, marriage, I don't understand. Going half on a life, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because there's still autonomy for both of you. And I guess that's really where maybe as I'm getting older, the idea of getting married later in life makes more sense, because then it's about like making medical decisions for someone, right? That kind of a thing. But if I think about who I was at 22 versus who I was at 32 versus who I am now at 43, we're very different people. The core of me is the same, but we're different people in what I want and what I'm looking for and what I need.
Right.
And how I communicate. So how the hell do I expect somebody else, you know, this partner that I would have had then, to grow at the same rate as me?
It never happens.
It can't happen.
Yeah, it never happens.
And so if you're not a person who has the skill of healthy communication, right? And understanding that to an extent there is some sacrifice involved in long-term relationships. There is in all relationships, but there's so much more in long-term relationships.
I honestly feel there should be a class, like whether it's maybe like your senior year of high school or something. Everyone should have a mandatory communication class, and
not just how to talk, but how to
express your feelings,
what's in there, in a healthy way.
Yes. And it should be like it should be a year-long class. You know what I mean? And have people go through the steps of actually talking about things that are personal, maybe not too personal because it's in the school environment, but you know, things that are personal, things that are bothering you, how to communicate, how to come across someone who is not. What's the dog eating?
What is she eating?
Oh, hell if I know.
Oh boy.
Shit.
She just
chomping
all
on
right,
something.
I'm gonna go check because she got something.
All right, but now she's running. But anyways, I really do think that what's she? She broke the indestructible toy. Oh my God, that one's in the garden. Okay, we have to take a picture of that. Yeah, we do. All right, man. I'm telling y'all, my dog will destroy some shit. This dog will chew. I think it's. She got teeth like the Predator. Have you ever seen the movie The Predator?
I just stuck my arm up to the elbow in that dog's mouth, for the record.
I mean, but if you've
mad at me now.
If you've seen the movie The Predator, and he takes the mask off, he got teeth that's like overlapping, crossing all this stuff. That's Bubbles. Bubbles got predator jaw.
Don't you judge that girl.
Hey, she beautiful, but damn, she need Invisalign or something.
I like the idea that you have of having sort of a life communication class, but I also like the idea of doing it like you renew a driver's license.
Bam.
I read once somebody said that marriage should be, or relationship should be like driver's licenses. You check in 7 years. You check in. Are we still good? Are we still wanting the same things out of life?
Mandatory class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, that's also called in grown folk land therapy. And I was there today.
Yeah, but you know that is a good. I think that would be good, honestly. Mm-hmm. You know, because so many people go through relationships to where they're in the relationship and that's it.
Right.
It just goes and goes and goes.
Right.
10 years later, it's kind of like, you know, fuck this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know? So no, I think that would probably be good. You should do like an every 5-year thing, because you got that 7-year itch. You know what I mean? So you get in about 5, start early.
Well, you start having real honest to God talks, real heavy talks about, what are the expectations? Are they the same that they were then?
Right.
Do I need something different now? And that doesn't just mean for the person. That means y'all check in about everything, because I also feel like if somebody is miserable in their work, or they're miserable staying at home with the babies, and the other person is okay,
that bleeds
over.
It bleeds over.
Yeah. And if you're truly invested in a partner, then it is also it's not your job to make sure they're happy. It's your job to find out if they're working on their inside job. Because eventually that comes into your space. Mm-hmm. It comes into your space.
It does.
It really, happiness truly is an inside job. And I think people have this idea that happiness is, rainbows and kittens and butterflies, and it's not. That what those feelings are, that's joy. And when you understand that all of the bitter shit and the rough shit that you survive, when you get past it and you get those moments where you get the new puppy, or you have the new baby,
right,
or you book that trip, that's what makes things palatable. That's what makes things work. Happiness, that's not happiness. That's a different space. Joy and happiness are different inside of you. I feel joyful when I book a motherfucking trip somewhere. Right? Mm-hmm. That brings me joy. I feel joyful when I plan an afternoon with my friends and it happens. Everyone's schedule works together. We all come together and we kick it.
Very seldom.
That's joy. But happiness is me. Happiness is my work.
Right.
And I think that's where the confusion comes for a lot of us. And I feel like that's not stuff that we are all comfortable talking about, because sometimes if you worked like you were like, I'm gonna get this man right here, I'm gonna marry this man, and then you get him, we're gonna have a family, and then y'all get it, he's gonna do this job and I'm gonna do, and y'all get it, and then you're sitting there at home and you're like, but I'm unhappy, but you don't admit that,
right?
So now you're a fucking asshole to your significant other, because something inside of you is not fulfilled, but you feel like you shouldn't say it. Because I think then people start to feel a battle with the word gratitude. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that just because you wanted something and you achieved it and it's not working out the way you think, that you're a bad person. You might just have to approach it in a different way.
But do you think the person who gets there would look at themselves and feel like they've failed themselves? Well, because now they've had this plan, right? They've had this plan that this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna be with that person. They're gonna get that job. They're gonna buy that car, get that big house over there, have the 2.5 kids, right? And they got it, and they're not happy. So I think it's not just that other person thing.
Then you feel like a failure too.
It's like, well, you know what? I failed. I somewhere failed, because all these things that I said that I needed to have to make me happy, I now have. I now have it. So, but I'm not.
But if you don't acknowledge that brokenness in you, this is where you lead up to crisis. I don't think anything. How many fucking things have we failed at?
Oh, it happens all the time.
You're not going to get through this life unscathed without failure, without fucked up decisions.
Yeah.
You got to understand that's part of the package.
Right.
So, yeah, I can see where you'd look at it and go, I fucking failed.
That is a part of life, whether you don't have a partner or spouse or
100%,
anything.
100%.
That is on an individual basis. You will fail. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're about, or whatever.
Epically.
Yeah, you're going to fail somewhere.
But you don't, just because you, so, okay, say you're the person who got all those things and now you're sitting there and you're unhappy and you think to yourself, I have failed. Well, but you haven't failed until you've quit.
Right.
Failure is when you stop putting in the work.
That is always how I see it.
You see it as failure?
No.
It's when you quit.
I only fail if I quit.
Yeah.
And
failure is in the quit.
And it may cost me tremendously in the failure. But, I look at it and I say, well, I really didn't fail. I didn't. I didn't fail because I learned something and I've taken that and I've put that forward.
Right.
And now what I'm seeing is a success because now what I'm doing is working.
Right.
So that wasn't a failure. So it's also your perspective, right? It's your perspective really of life in general.
Right.
Right? If you are the half full or half empty person, can basically dictate, your failures or successes. If you're always playing the victim, like, why does this shit always happen to me? Then shit's going to just keep happening to you.
I do agree that to an extent, a fatalistic attitude can contribute. I also think that, and while we have not talked about this, this is a fair thing to mention. There are people who have mental illness who cannot see outside of a certain bubble. And we're not talking about people who are struggling there, because that's a whole different ball game that, frankly speaking, with my own experiences, I don't even have enough based on my own issues with depression and anxiety and panic. I could not sit here and tell you, well, if you're a depressed person, then this. No, because it's so different for each one. I'm talking about a person who, by and large, is in a situation, whatever that situation may be, work, relationship, whatever the thing is, and just takes the idea that it isn't bringing them some happiness and is like, fuck it, I failed. Well, yeah, if you stop right there and you say I failed, you have. But if you look around and say, damn, I have these beautiful fucking kids and they drive me crazy, but I made that.
Yes.
Without me, there's no them.
Yes.
Or you look at the house and you go, I really did always want this. Right? And then you think to yourself, how do I put in the work to go back to finding the reasons that I wanted it? Or put in the work, whatever that work is, because again, it's different for each individual person.
Correct.
To try to retrace your steps, right? Maybe you took a left somewhere where you should have taken a right. Who knows what that is?
But you know what? Maybe you took all the right steps that you were supposed to take,
and maybe
with
there's
your
something
plan,
else you need,
and there was something else there, something you didn't realize until you got there.
Right.
So I wasn't trying to down anyone,
No.
if they have
I didn't
depression
think that either.
or anything like that.
I just wanted to clarify, because we don't want to negate a group of people who do exist, who that
right.
is
and,
something
and
that,
we know that exists.
right.
I'm
chemically that it's out of their control.
Right.
We're not talking about that group of people.
Just speaking in general of giving up,
right.
and not continuing to fight for what you're believing in,
right.
and just saying that that's how it is,
right.
I am not a believer of that. I am not a believer in, that it was supposed to be that way.
Right.
No, fuck that.
Right.
No.
I'm going to change this.
Yeah, I'm going to change it.
You remember them books when you were a kid? If you wanted the end, you
go
go
left.
to page this, you go to page 227.
I used to love those.
Oh my God, those books were awesome.
Yeah.
Didn't they make a TV show like that recently?
I think so.
I
and
thought
I heard
they
it
did.
flopped or something.
Oh dear. I thought the idea was cool though.
Yeah, something like that.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, obviously, by no means is anyone here a life coach, but
right.
When the shit is blowing up around me, I of course have my days where I'm just deep in it.
Are you sitting at the coffee table or at the table sipping coffee with flames,
with the flames
everywhere?
It's okay.
Everything's burning around you. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but that happens, and that's real.
Yeah.
But I work actively on that inside job. I really do, and I'm proud of that for a person that has come from all the stuff that I've come from, and made the decisions that I've made and stuck by those decisions. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd check that box. Let's say I'm a pretty happy person.
I am.
I work at it.
I'm happy too. I am. I honestly am. I feel this. I feel free. I feel free. I have some things that I'm working on right now,
mm-hmm.
and hopefully pretty soon those things materialized. But I feel like I'm me again. I'm the always thinker, the always.
Plan A, B, C, D, and E.
That's right. That's right. I got so many plans, y'all. It's crazy. But that's how I've always lived my life since I was like about 15 years old.
Right.
I always had a plan and trying to plan for a plan in case that plan didn't work and all that good stuff. And so, but in a whole or a nutshell, I'm happy. I'm good where I'm at right now. I think where I'm at right now is where I'm supposed to be. And I think there's a lot of potential coming up here really quick. I mean, we have a lot of irons in the fire right now.
We do.
Yeah,
Alton and I are scrappy little motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Okay, we might fail just spectacularly.
Yeah.
But neither of us are the kinds of people that sit somewhere and go, oh, fuck. We like, what's next?
Yeah, it's like, well,
what we doing next?
We better get up and jump on the next thing,
That's right.
you know?
Dust it off, try again.
Yeah,
That's right.
you know, the last couple things we've put together are starting to take off, so pretty happy about that. But, you know, it's just all about not giving up, so you just got to keep it moving.
That's right.
You know, and that's...
Check in with yourselves as humans. Check in with... Do like that poem said. How is your breath in this space? Man.
Hopefully you brushed your teeth.
Damn.
But...
Sir. Hopefully it ain't in a small confined space. See, this is the problem. We're a damn fool. But we got to wind it down here in a minute.
Yeah.
In keeping with our promise to end things with positive. Oh, I was about to slap the table. See, I just got told not to hit the table. I found something cool today.
Okay,
I was reading about it. There's a doctor in Minnesota. He's a family practitioner. He's not an OBGYN, but if you come from a very small town, sometimes sometimes being a family doctor means you delivering them babies. And that's the real, keep it real. Anyway, so this doctor's name is Eric Bostrom. I hope I'm not butchering your last name, Dr. Bostrom. But something he does really, really cool. He has delivered a bunch of babies in his teeny tiny little town. And for each one of those babies, he hand makes them a baby blanket with their little baby name on it.
Oh, what?
So he literally makes delivers these babies and then wraps them in these blankets he makes for them.
That is kind of dope.
Isn't that cool?
You know,
he learned how to sew, I guess, from his sister. And each one of his little babies, he wraps them up in a blanket he makes for them. And I just thought that was, you don't hear about dudes sewing really, you know.
Hey, once again, I'm going to give all the fellas props out there who's holding it down. Like last episode.
That's right.
All you fellas out there cooking dinners, you know, making things interesting, taking care of the kids, you know, handling business. I'm going to give all y'all props. Shout out to all you guys.
Damn men.
Hey, we don't get it enough.
I'm kidding. Good
we don't
Lord.
get it enough.
I am not of the man hater, woman hater clubs. Like, I'm like, you doing right? Fuck yeah. You doing wrong? You a whole asshole. I don't give a fuck who you is.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so that was our joy. You know, I just thought it was a really cool, unexpected little blurb. I read it. It made me smile. And, you know, that's what you got to look for. Because if you read the damn newspaper, you think the world is ending.
Oh, tell me about it.
Speaking of that, drinking the coffee.
Yeah, jumping on the internet, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
World's burning down or some shit. You know, it's there's a lot of bad out there, but there's a lot of good too. You know, but you just got to keep your eyes open and keep looking for it.
You got to keep your eyes peeled for it. You know, you gotta look for what is going to balance out all the crazy, because the crazy ain't going nowhere.
No,
I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I will say is just through my life, I've experienced a lot of ups and downs. And when the downs come, I always look at them and say, okay, that's the down. All right, well, where's the good in the down? So
you know what? That is true.
I look at what has happened or what's happening, and then I purposefully look and say, "Where's the good in this?" And I find
that's my experience with you.
I find some good in it.
You do.
You know what I mean?
You do.
And then I take that good and I try and make something of it.
Yeah.
And
you use it to build you up out of the bad thing. Yeah, that's actually
right.
100% factual about you.
Yeah.
That is true. And it's one of those things that you're self-aware on, which is nice.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that is a true story, and I appreciate that about you.
All right, well, y'all, it was fun. It was good. I hope it was entertaining, but it was also informative.
That's right.
We will probably be going back and forth to some pretty serious topics. We'll keep it light. We'll have some fun, all that good stuff. But
we have to keep it real.
Yeah, we do have to keep it real.
Because that's just who we are.
Absolutely. So, with that said,
peace.
Deuces. Later, y'all.
Bye.